Phoenix vs. Raven is an episode I had basically no reaction to upon its reveal. I do think it's neat that both parties from Raven vs. Twilight are getting their redemption episode this year. Coincidentally, this came directly after the redemption of another returner who had an initially mediocre episode. Not that I expected this to be anywhere near the glop that Vader vs. Obito was. For that to be the case, I would need to like this episode more than that, since I already slightly prefer Raven vs. Twilight over Vader vs. Doom. I've always found myself leaning towards that one just being kind of mediocre rather than actively awful. Was Raven vs. Phoenix any better? Yeah, I'd say so. Analysis-wise, they're pretty on par in me not getting that much out of them. Phoenix is not a character I have any real interest in. I've only ever heard the Phoenix Force brought up in the context of how strong it is and how bad its movie is, and you're never going to get me interested in a character solely on the basis of them being overpowered. And as much as I like Raven in the Teen Titans cartoon from what I've seen of it, I also just am not interested in the comic version, especially given the fact that she's a returner. So they were facing an uphill battle with my lack of interest from the beginning, and I didn't find it engaging enough to overcome that hurdle. Raven's definitely had my preferred cutaway and a more interesting story to cover, but I also felt very little towards either of those aspects. The rest of the jokes weren't really doing much for me across either rundown, with a few deliveries and timing feeling especially off to me, and the versus stuff all went in one ear and out the other. It's not necessarily a problem with the episode, since it's not something they can reasonably avoid nowadays with characters on this scale, and it's not limited to this episode either. But cosmic scale stuff like this I inherently do not find interesting. As soon as you get to galaxy level and beyond, that's where you start to lose me. It's cool the first few times, but when half the season list can blow up the universe, it starts to feel less impressive, and more like they're recapping Little Timmy's deviant art OC, who he really doesn't want to lose to his friends OC. If this was the first time we'd got an Omniversal stuff mentioned, then yeah, that could have been kinda novel. But Wanda vs. Zatanna already had that covered last season. Again, this isn't a flaw with the episode or with Death Battle, just more of an explanation for why I typically prefer more grounded battles. Or at the very least ones where the high scale stuff is completely different in tone to what comics normally have. What comics also normally have nowadays on this show is fantastic editing. But I'll be honest, this is the first time in a while an analysis edit hasn't worked for me at all. This one is really visually repetitive and honestly kinda hard to follow at points. With how little time some of these panels spend on screen and how wobbly the rest are, it makes reading the text a chore. Especially when entire pages will be added on screen without cutting down to just the relevant panels. They also have a lot of these big reveals for new forms coupled with the least dynamic panels ever conceived. There are a couple neat bits with a ton of panels on screen at once, but there were no visual tricks that stuck out to me at all. My favourite edit, and favourite part of the analysis in general for that matter, is the last minute addition that Jean died again the week the episode came out. Genuinely could not have timed that release window better. Could have done without the last line though. It would have been funnier to me if it cut off immediately after Jean Grey has died for the 16th time, but I'll take it. Shout out to the bagpipe music. Big fan of Scotland personally, I really hope I can go there someday. Using this to springboard off to some more positives, I also kinda like the comparisons between Jean and the mythological Phoenix. The end to Raven's story was covered fairly well, and I know this isn't going to be something everyone's going to agree with me on, but I actually kinda like the offhanded reference to Raven vs. Twilight. It should also go without saying that the stat stuff is presented, competently this time, but at the same time, at least Raven's last episode has stuff I'm gonna remember, like the offhanded moon level stuff in the midst of hyping up street tier feats, and the best part of the episode, the megawatt hour calc. Whereas the cosmic stuff is all just white noise to me. This one might not be as funny to me, but it's nice to see Raven get given some decent treatment this time around. Shout out to Jacob, I can't wait for Lucina vs. Grovile. Onto the animation now. While the analysis was visually underwhelming, this is the opposite extreme. The visuals in this fight, primarily with the hand-drawn elements, are nothing short of mesmerizing. Orange is my favorite color, so seeing the vibrancy and sheer majesty of the Phoenix Force in this animation was a treat to the eyes. And the brightness of that clashes very well with the pitch black Soul Self. It is leaps and bounds ahead of the already great looking one that Raven had back in season 5. Even outside of those, the hand-drawn close-ups and effects look incredible. Some of my favourites being this fire spiral that Phoenix tries to send out before her death, the effects on all the stuff Raven covers with her magic, this incredible kill shot that cuts as Raven blows out the last embers of what once was the Phoenix Force, then the last shot as she looks out over her home beneath the Phoenix-shaped cloud. This is such a beautiful episode. Besides that, yeah, it's fine. The backgrounds are nice, the music's pretty good and works in the X-Men and Teen Titans themes quite well. The voice acting from Corey Petit and Kira Buckland is generally solid. There are a couple fun sequences like the Afraid of the Dark bit and the really cool kill. I don't know what else to really say, to be honest. Not much of what actually happens is all that memorable to me. It's well put together, but again, I just found a lot of it to be white noise. I think the start of the bit with the sword felt really slow considering how quick they were going at the start, and then the actual impact of the slash is just not there for me. The moon toss is mostly fine, but it felt like it barely made contact with those Dark Phoenix clones. And then the bit that followed on from that confused me on my first watch. I didn't know why Raven was going in slow motion here or why they suddenly teleport after Jean scorches her, but it turns out the latter is because this whole segment took place within the Mindscape, so fair enough, I guess. And the slow motion Raven is not because Jean is messing with the flow of time like I was guessing. It's supposed to be dramatic effect as Jean teleports over to her after the attempt at the moon sandwich. So I get what the intention is, but I still think it goes on for too long and isn't really conveyed that well. The transformations are mostly okay. The general sense of escalation with how they both draw out each other's dark power and then purify each other is actually pretty cool. Dark Raven's inferior to her first appearance because that one was at least kind of funny. Dark Phoenix is serviceable enough. Gold Raven was actually pretty cool. I like that she emerges from her own burnt corpse like a cocoon. And White Woman Jumpscare Phoenix has good build-up, but the reveal shot feels as blasé as the one shown in her rundown. They try and gas up the white hot room towards the very end, and I'm sorry, but you will never make that sound cool no matter how hard you try. And then for as pretty as the kill is, it is a little bit of a letdown that White Phoenix amounts to absolutely nothing and dies in one shot. I like the conclusion at the very least. They sell it as being close, and I like that the verdict wasn't decided by stats because you couldn't possibly get me interested in who is more omniversal than the other. It is funny to me that Raven won because the whole reason they even did Twilight back in season 5 is because they thought Phoenix would have stomped her too easily. Wow, short and easy one for me today, huh? Not gonna lie, I was kinda tempted to skip over this one and work on other projects, but my good friend Jacob researched Raven on this, and I felt bad about skipping his first episode earlier this year, so this is the one time I'm gonna make one of these out of a feeling of obligation. Go Jacob and all that. I'm glad he got to research his favourite comic book character, but I can't say that I really connected with this one all that much. Compared to Raven vs. Twilight, the visual glow-up is tremendous. The 5-year gap in production value really shows. In terms of how much I enjoy watching them though, I do prefer Phoenix vs. Raven, but there isn't exactly a world of difference between them. Compared to something like Scarlet Witch vs. Zatanna last season, since they're the big omniversal reality warper matches, I think I vastly prefer that. They're both visually stunning, but I think I prefer Wanda vs. Zatanna in that regard. It's just as vibrant and beautiful, while the effects get across the difference in tone between the characters really well. And on top of that, while it definitely starts out worse with its weak setup and boring summon battle, once we're past Wanda morphing from the curtains, it just continues to take W's over Phoenix vs. Raven. It uses their powers more creatively, Zatanna has a way more entertaining personality, the Megamind reference, Trans-Rights universe, and ending shot ratio anything in this episode. I just find it a lot more fun, and there are parts of it that still stick out to me even over a year after it came out, whereas with Phoenix vs. Raven, I doubt I'll remember much about it in a week. And while we're on the topic of other Marvel and DC episodes I prefer over this one, Ant-Man vs. Atom isn't my least favourite of the season anymore, I don't think. I don't get a ton out of either of them, but I found that one to have more interesting stuff to talk about in the analysis, an infinitely superior edit, more creative and unique ideas in the animation, a more gruesome kill that's better built up to, and also Fight as One, My Beloved, as part of the custom track. That made me happy on a scale you can't even comprehend. I think that's enough tangents about other episodes. I really do have that little to say about Phoenix vs. Raven itself. I think my stance on it is that it's a good, well-made episode that I'm clearly not part of the target audience for. And that's totally fine. We are just off the back of 2 of my favourite Death Battle combatants getting 2 of my favourite Death Battle episodes. And just before that was 2 other episodes that I really love. I've been eating well enough. Let the comic fans have their fun. And they do seem to be. I've seen a ton of people saying they love this episode and that it's a seasonal highlight for them. And that's so cool to see. I don't want to detract from that for anyone because I know my lack of enthusiasm is more just down to my general disinterest rather than anything overtly wrong with the episodes. For me, I was mostly uninterested and a little bored at points, with the analysis especially doing very little for me. But the animation's incredible visuals and a handful of awesome sequences are able to elevate this one enough to where my opinion goes from complete indifference to slightly positive. 6 out of 10, I like it well enough, but I am not going to think about it much after the next episode drops. Speaking of the next episode, Guts vs. Dimitri sounds like it'll be cool. I hope we can go 3 for 3 with characters who had mediocre episodes back in the day getting their redemption arc. And I'm interested enough to learn about Fire Emblem. Hopefully nothing will stop me from covering that one. I can't skip 3 DJ edits in a row. Okay, that's all for this very substantial review. Hope you enjoyed, check out the ones that Nem and GA are making. See you later, enjoy the reaction highlights.
We are animated now. What the?
Oh my god, I'm dancing around.
I love animation.
I love being featured.
Animation is so easy. They don't have to tell me that the Phoenix voice is something awesome.
No, I'm actually really excited that y'all get to see That's a Raven. I'm a big fan of That's a Raven.
Doesn't Ben want a separate episode for her?
Huh?
I mean, I don't know. That's warranted.
I think he tweeted about it lately.
All I know about Dark
Not lately.
Feeling-
That was like people are jokingly retweeting like a very old tweet.
MFTL.
You do this with Wanda Zatanna. It's not like you can't really recapture that. A lot of stuff going.
Okay, that's my favorite part of the
That's
analysis.
good. I like that.
That was funny. Best part of the
That
analysis.
might be the best joke of the episode so far.
Can we get Jean Grey versus Kenny?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
She has the feet. What? Whoa!
Jocelyn has the Phoenix.
Wait, no.
Yeah, because she's a redhead. It's really into redheads.
Oh, reverse,
Reverse
normal
Scarlet
mutants.
Witch's no more mutant spell.
Could kill the Beyonder. Oh boy.
Oh my god, it's
White
just a
Phoenix.
fucking PNG.
It's just a white background
PNG
PNG.
with a white background.
I do much prefer this one. Might be a bit biased, but yeah.
What the heck is that?
That's Titans.
That's the Titans live action show.
Oh yeah.
The one that fuck Batman is from. Beaker!
Oh, no.
Oh my
No, this is the Pika episode.
Oh my god.
Oh my goat! My goat.
Oh no.
Mecha Goose 2 episodes in a row? We're eating.
Yeah.
Who's voicing them?
Goodbye, Liam and Sam.
Oh, Liam and Sam.
Love that.
That's funny.
That was pretty good.
Oh my god! Stop with go!
Please, no more.
You're welcome.
I want to rewatch this show.
Teen Titans is good.
I've got the whole series
Yeah.
on DVD.
Oh.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
That's how you pronounce it.
I've heard that name pronounced 50 different ways.
Yeah.
I always say mixed a piddle.
Woo! I do like this analysis more. Like,
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it feels like
I like Raven more.
yeah.
Raven just has a more interesting story.
Yeah.
Good Jacob.
Yeah, that's probably just true.
Raven kind of quirky.
Oh, I thought they were
What was
about to
that
go into an end
pause?
clip there.
That was a
They go into-
strange end shot, just Raven like walking in.
Alright, I'm done. Alright, it's over.
Here we go.
Let's go, Raven! Come on!
It's gonna be a Phoenix sweep!
Shut
Alright,
up!
I actually haven't seen the preview for this anime.
Oh, you're gonna. I can't wait for your reaction.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, the fights look very good.
Yep.
The second her soul self comes out, I cannot wait to see.
Oh!
Yeah!
Oh!
Yeah, the birds look really good in this.
I fucking love this.
That was the thing I was looking forward to the most. The Boyds.
I love
The
the
birds.
mix of the
World
X-Men
War.
theme with the Teen Titans
Yes.
theme.
Yeah, this track's awesome.
Yes.
Mix is
Although
a strong word when you hear the rest of the song.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's mostly the X-Men theme,
I
but you
did
know.
listen to it and heard a bit more Raven in there, but it's so much Phoenix, yeah.
It's like parts where it's
I
supposed to
like-
represent the Teen Titans theme, but it's not
Yeah,
actually the Teen
I
Titans
can like
theme.
hear that follow-up part at times.
Alright, new stuff.
That wigging of Hug hitting her head against the wall scratches my brain and
I really like
That was
like,
cool.
Alright, new stuff now.
Okay, the ballroom dancers. What?
they're slow dancing like Jacob and Butter at the restaurant.
Oh my.
Ooh,
Oh,
ooh.
It was like I thought you just pulled out a gun.
Ooh.
Yo!
Oh shit.
Ooh.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
oh.
That was fast.
Oh, that was cool.
That is a cool
can't
fucking way
control
to
it!
perform.
Yo!
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh my
Yes, more of this.
Oh wow.
Yo.
Not like the little
Really
silly.
letting them out of the way.
Oh shit.
Oh?
Let's go!
Oh, yay.
Oh boy.
Yo.
Oh, that's cool. I
Okay,
really
now
like
we
the
got.
transformation. Yeah, they're really nice. They've done it in a very natural way.
Oh shit.
Something in Raven's got
Oh.
this.
Is this the white hot
Oh my god, they just keep bringing out
She's a
new
white woman.
Let's go, Kira.
Oh, let's go.
Oh shit.
Oh!
Oh.
Whoa!
Oh my god.
Oh no.
It petering out? No way. Let's go!
Oh! Okay, that's actually
I like that. I like that ending a
That
lot.
was a nice end.
Good death.
Yeah!
Let's go.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
baby.
And you got another one right. Wow. Good on ya.
Oh, is there a phoenix in the clouds there?
Yeah.
Let's go, Raven!
Yeah.
That was cool.
Good on Raven for getting
I don't know
good
what forms they
I like
took.
Moro's hand-drawn stuff.
I didn't catch which ones were Moro's, but I'm sure they'll post it.
Everything was so pretty the first time I saw it, and it wasn't even finished.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
Nevermore.
Let's go.
Oh yeah.
They didn't do like a
Yeah.
Alright.
time.
Are y'all ready?
Yeah, you didn't.
Everyone, everything silent.
Chaos was just go good.
Yeah.
So true.
Let's see.
That's my prediction. Oh.
Yo, oh my god! Oh my god! Yo!
Let's fucking go!
Oh damn. Okay.
Oh, babe.
Yeah, I get to see Gus die.
Yes! Holy shit!
Hey,
Gus is so dead. Let's go.
Oh my god!
Brandon, we're eating, Brandon.